it really hit home when I was working with a student in Vermont who I was trying to get him back into the public school system after he had been out for a couple months. And I'll never forget it. He looked at me and he said, why would I ever go back there? There's nothing going on there that has anything to do with who I am with my own life. And so it really hit home, and it made me reflect upon my own experience and on these other settings I'd been, and I guess recognizing that it's so frequently students don't see the real relevance of what it is that they're learning. And I don't mean relevance just in terms of, I know I'm going to need this to use it for somewhere down the road. I'm talking about relevance right now. For what you're learning today can impact the way you talk to somebody that afternoon.
Also really found the idea of like this experiential learning, like being able to learn something and then go see it for real and not just read about it in a book or not just even watch a video on it, but like see it, touch it, smell it with your own senses, I think is incredibly valuable to student learning.
The way in which the students are so much a part of the program, so that the students are not just students in the program with the teachers teaching, but that the students are also very much the teachers, and the way that the students work together and the way that the students and the teachers work together.
It's the way you have to work in the quote-unquote real world. You know, like no one says when you're out in a job, oh, we're going to use your math brain now, and then we're going to use your art brain now, and now we're going to use your history brain. Like you have to be able to use all the different facets of your intelligence. And I think that that's a really valuable lesson to learn as early as you can in life. You know, for me, right now, I'm always having to use different skill sets that I've learned over the years, and being, like I said, it's not compartmentalized. That's real life, is not being compartmentalized. So being able to do that authentic learning now, I think, is incredibly valuable.
So experiential learning, just this idea of learning by doing, brings a texture, is the word that comes to mind for me, a texture to the learning experience that you can't get when everything is clean and presented to you. So I think there's a real messiness to experiential learning that is getting face to face with materials and people and experiences and places that you can't get from being inside of a classroom. So experiential learning for me is the actual texture and the smell and the place for learning. There's a lot of benefit having students in one class for the semester, and one of the biggest ones is obviously the opportunity to build a strong learning community where trust is paramount and students feel comfortable taking risks in every facet of their learning experience, whether it be how they solve a problem, how they interact with their peers, how they present their findings and their learning. And if they don't feel safe and connected and committed to a community, then I'm not sure students are really giving 100% until they reach that point. So for us, having students work together for a whole semester means that they can't dismiss each other. They have to get to know each other and respect each other's opinions and points of views in a way that doesn't happen when you're only together for an hour a day and you can just sort of tolerate other people for an hour and then move on. For us, we're together every hour of the day, every day of the week for a few months on end, and so it means learning to respect differences in a whole different way, and then actually appreciate differences and use those for the betterment of the whole cohort.
So much of what we do is based on creating a certain shared sense of journey and trust within the program, and I think that's difficult to do when that sort of that meeting time, much like we're talking about earlier with the different disciplines, is sort of fragmented and broken up, and it's in little pieces here and there, but nothing extended, right? Think about it this way, after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the program, we've logged more hours together than we would have if we were in a single class that just met once a day for 50 minutes. So there's a huge amount of investment of time. And because of that, we can slow down a little bit. I've taught in a lot of different settings. I've taught in private and public school here in Massachusetts. I've run summer programs, reading programs for kids from around the country. I worked in central Vermont for many years, working with kids who've been expelled from the public school system. And so being in all these different types of environments, including in Boston where I've done some instructional work, as different as all of these places are, I guess I began to see some patterns or themes that emerged in viewing all these different educational settings and systems. And one of those patterns, clearly, particularly for the high school age, was how fragmented the experience is, and how many high schools have a structure in which students show up and they go to their English class and the bell rings, and their social studies class and the bell rings, and their science class, and it's this constant moving from one thing to the next with no coherence or no threads that are tying together different aspects of that student's day and of their entire educational experience. And of course, we ask students to go home and repeat that fragmentation all over again with 5 discrete pieces of homework that bear no relationship to one another. And I think there's real dangers in that fragmentation and in not being able to see the threads that tie these different disciplines together. Because disciplines they're a human created convenience, and they're certainly helpful in some regard, but they also really obscure the interconnectedness and the holistic nature of things.
Yeah, I mean, that interdisciplinary part and piece is not easy. It adds a layer of complexity to what it is that we're teaching. That in the end, that complexity is the richness, but it requires a concerted effort on our part as instructors to communicate with each other and share what we're doing, share what we're teaching, share what we love, and spend time learning what somebody else is invested in and what they are hoping to teach. And so I think for me it's communicating with my other instructors, but also taking an honest interest in the material that they're trying to share with the class. So if the more time I spend with their content, the easier it is for me to integrate it into mine.
It made everything so much more cohesive. It just even now I'm pulling stuff from my English class and I'm using it in my psych homework, it just stays with you. It's a good skill to have, to be able to create connections between anything.
Where students could not only learn about what they're learning in the context of the classroom, but also getting out and touching things, experiencing things for themselves. I mean, those tend to be, I think, the moments that resonate the most, that stick with students the most, that really contribute to learning something in great depth and in great detail. And that particularly struck me when I came back down, after having taught in other settings for years, back to Concord. And here, of course, we are in a half-mile radius. We have some of the world's greatest treasures between Walden Pond, Minuteman National Historical Park, the Old Manse, right? We've got all of these places, and how infrequently we access those places and make those part of the curriculum. So I became to be very interested in what would it be like to truly use the entire community or communities from where our students reside as the classroom too, and not just let the classroom be something that is static and contained here. Now I would say that experiential learning is something that can happen in the classroom too, which I think speaks to the amount of sort of activity and creation we do even when we're here on campus as well.
The field work component cannot be overstated as an important part of Rivers. I think students being able to not just look again at images of glass art and finished products, but to actually see that process, to go to the Diablo Glass School and see how hot it is when people are working in glass, to actually see how it's a teamwork experience to do glass blowing, and to hear the stories that people have about their practice and their professional interests. All of that adds up to learning that enriches classroom work and basically lets students see, and myself as the teacher see, how everything that we're doing in the classroom relates back to the real world.
The experiential aspect of the program is one of its strong aspects. I mean, some of the things I think work really well. When we went to Purgatory Chapter, I thought that was really great that people are out there hiking around, and some people I didn't, but people crawl through the caves and stuff. And especially for some students who may not have had that opportunity to do that, I think that's a great thing. And I also think the idea of going as a cohort to one of these places, I think that's really great. And not that we're doing team bonding, activities when we're there per se. It's not like let's put your tent together and see if you can rappel down the side of the chasm. But still, I think when everybody's there, and just the aspect of when you're out there, the rest of the people from the cohort, I think there's a lot of subtle things that are developed. So that's part of, I think, which we do well. The field trips. The idea of going to Fruitlands or going to some museums and things like that. And it's not just, some of it's not even what you put down on the paper. It's not just, please, when you go to the MFA, look for these 4 paintings. I think it's you get there and you break into groups, and some of it's up to the students to go around their own and decide what are you going to do. You have this amount of time. How are you going to decide to use that in this museum?
What is stewardship? Well, I think the best way to describe stewardship is our way of connecting what we do in our classroom to the community in general. Like, it's all great that we do so much experiential learning and we learn such a different way than the mainstream school, but that's only focused on us. I think a large part of our curriculum is taking what we learn in the classroom out and sharing it with other people in the community. But doing all these exhibits and projects that are open to the community, we really we try to bring everything together so we have a closer.
I think it's a wonderful aspect to the program. I think the idea of giving back is the way you truly find happiness. I think that being able to create something for other people to enjoy or help younger folks or just better the community around you is really the way that, like I said, that's true happiness. I think you can become happy through other methods, but sometimes it's much more fleeting. You're going to have this for the rest of your life to look back upon and, hey, I did this project and it helped other people in this way or that way. And being able to say that, I think, that's really powerful for 16, 17, 18-year-old to have.
I think 3 out of the 5 of us were helping to design a nature-based playground for the kids to play on that's being built there. And then Forrest Dickinson and I were going into Gowings Bog with Cherry, Corey, and mapping invasive plant species that need removal by the Sudbury River Valley trustees. So that kind of, in addition to helping me connect the environmental learnings that I'm getting out of stuff like environmental science right now, but also rivers, to the community and to myself and how I can affect them. I don't know. A lot of the time, community service is almost the closest thing to it, but at the same time, it's like my active role that I'm going to carry on besides my community service role.
First semester, stewardship students created an exhibit in the square, which is our educational gallery space. And the students created an exhibit that was, the general idea of the exhibit was to recreate the Rivers and Revolutions classroom in the studio space, in the gallery space here, so that it was possible to kind of make public what was going on in the Rivers and Revolutions program. And from DeCordova's end, it was a way to show some of the educational organizations that we've been working with that have really helped us formulate our thinking about education here at museum.
We got our first stewardship student, who's Elena Arroyo, and we had her here all last semester working on family guides for us and helping us with our very first phone app. But this semester we actually have 8 students working with us, which is really exciting, and they're going to put on an exhibition, actually in the gallery that I'm sitting in here. So we've given them an entire gallery, and they're going to put on an exhibition about the evolution of learning. So they're using our collections, and they're looking at the historic objects we have here that relate to education, and they're comparing it to what Rivers and Revolutions is doing. So we're thinking about what was revolutionary when Henry Thoreau lived in Concord and what kind of education was he trying to do, and what was everybody's typical educational experience like, and then comparing that to what the Rivs classroom does, and showing people that you can get outside of the classroom, that you can put a lot of trust in your students to do their own learning, that you can send them out into the community to learn things, that you can really make things interdisciplinary.
Almost all of the comments were about empowering students to have more of a voice in the educational process. And it really struck me as being, as that's really profound, and maybe that's at the core of what we're doing, more so than anything specific about the curriculum or where we go. But it's about a certain relationship that we try to create here, in which we're all learners together. And it isn't a construction in which the knowledge is flowing in one way and the knowledge is flowing in all directions. And I think clearly that's something I think that can happen in the context of an individual classroom, and does, especially at a great school like this. However, what we have is the capacity to be in the room when other teachers are teaching and to be part of that, right? So part of how that happens and the dynamic is created is that, when Jeff Fuller is teaching stuff about math, I'm fascinated by it, but I know so little about it. So when I'm asking a question, it's not a staged question. It's not a canned question. I'm not asking one of those questions that I know the answer to. I'm trying to steer the lesson in a particular direction. It's because I'm curious and I really want to know, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about seeing what is then the connection between that and some of this other stuff we're talking about. And I think for students to see that is really empowering, right? To feel like, wow, okay, so there's plenty of stuff that he doesn't know. And of course, the same is true even within the discipline that I'm teaching. Anyone who claims to be a real expert really is showing how little they know. And I think that at the end of the day, that dynamic that we then create in here to really empower students to see that they are teachers too, to empower students to really have a fair amount of flexibility and choice and control over what students are doing. Right, and that comes out in the freedom students are given with creating these projects at the end of each unit. Right, the end of the semester culminates with students getting up and teaching and taking over the program for the last week and a half of the school. These stewardship opportunities, which put students at the table with directors of education from local nonprofit organizations. These are opportunities for students to sort of take on a new role and experience things a little bit differently.
Teacher, student, and content are all really interactive with each other.
Yeah.
So the teacher is the student at one point, and the student can be the teacher.
Yeah, which is what you do at the end. It's like you teach the class, it's way harder than it seems. And I don't know, it makes me appreciate the teacher so much more,
It makes me appreciate the students also.
Yeah.
Or I think it makes the teachers appreciate the students more than anything.
I hope so.
Because they're learning themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Just that I really think it's one of the best things that's happened here in a long time. I think this is a great school, and there's innovative things going on around the school. So that's not to take away at all from the good work that's being done. But it's just, having gone to the decorative exhibition at the end of first semester and seeing all the amazing work that the students did, which just really blew me away. So.
Rivs has taught me to think about the world in a different way and be open to new experiences that I might not have been open to before, like going out and looking for birds or something I might not have done before Rivs, and it's been an amazing experience and I absolutely love it.
Rivs has made me a better person.
Rivs has taught me a lot this year. It's taught me how to learn in a different viewpoint, different way, I feel like it's more hands-on.
So Rivs taught me a lot, but to sum it up, just be happy in what you do and go with your own flow and learn your own way.
The field trips because they're fun.
What made them fun?
Going outside.
It's taught me to look at everything I thought I knew in a new light. And so everything now has a new meaning to me, and the teachers especially really changed the way I look at school. I want to get up in the morning and see them because I know that they are so invested in this program. And it's really something that you don't get in normal school a lot of the time.
I can't even begin to describe in words.
Video camera.
It's done for me.
It's taught me to be less judgmental and not to assume things about people before I actually know.
Like on my field days and my classmates.
Me making new friends and like starting to think about what other people think about me, but like not without caring about it, and like having close relationship with people that I've known since not a lot of time, like actually.
Rivers has changed my life and the way I see things, and how it's turned me into a nature lover other than a city girl. Now I want to go camping and I want to go and fishing and all the nature walks and stuff, and I just love Rivers. It's changed me all over in the way I think and the way I do stuff now.
Rivers has definitely changed my perspective on learning in general. Now I feel like I can actually appreciate what I'm learning, and I know that like everything that is being taught is actually like going to be of some use in my life. Like before, I felt like I went to school and learned stuff, but it was kind of all like facts that I wouldn't really be using like in my everyday life. And now I'm constantly like thinking about how everything actually connects to myself and how it's going to be like help me later in life.
Rivers has given me a family within the school.
I think I like the math. Math was really hard work, and go to Evansville, and then we got breaks and lunch, and then we have lots of activities for all the groups.
To open up to the world, like I've really changed my perspective on school and like how I view like pretty much day-to-day life.
What Rivers has done for me, by William Parra. I wrote this, just so I could remember what I was trying to think of, because there's so much of this done for me. I said it has reignited my passion for academia, shown me what it means to be part of a community, taught me how to properly treat others. Not that I was a bad person beforehand, but it's shown me how to connect with people on a truly meaningful level. It's stimulated my creativity. It has solidified my connection to nature. It's really made me who I am today, in the sense that I'm more tolerant, I'm happier, I have a more open, optimistic outlook on pretty much everything I've ever done now. I don't know, Rivers is the best thing that's ever happened to me, hands down. It's not even a question.
Yeah, I don't really know how to put Rivers into words in 30 seconds or what it has done for me, but I would say Rivers has given me a reason to get up in the morning again. I'm actually excited to go to school, and I'm excited to learn. Back in elementary school and middle school, I couldn't wait to be in the classroom and to get new information from a teacher. But since high school, I've sort of lost that inspiration, and haven't really had a class that has sort of given me that motivation to grasp new information at the high school. But with Rivers, I can't wait to hear what's coming next.
And I'm actually writing my college essay on that, about how Rivers, because it stimulated my creativity, has kind of, while it's helped me progress as an adult, really helped me recede back into a more childish frame of mind.
Yeah.
Because I'm a more creative, inquisitive, questioning person, I guess. And just happier.
And that's something that Rivers allows. It allows you to, something Mr. Goodwin always talks about is this innate curiosity that children have, that somewhere around the middle school years we lose this curiosity and this ability to keep asking questions and to ask why, and that's so important for learning and so important for creativity, and Rivers totally re-stimulates all of that.
Rivers has taught me to learn how to take risks and reflect on what I'm learning and remember that you can't really measure intelligence and that it comes out in different ways. doing Rivers was a risk in itself, and just the fact that I had such a great time is prompted me to remember to take risks.
I agree with that. I feel like it kind of is a way for you to get, like, it's helped me, like, kind of, like, get out of, like, my, like, comfort zone. Like, it's kind of a way for you to, like, I don't know, kind of reach out towards people and towards, like, things, I guess. Like, I've done, like, a lot of things that I haven't really been, like, comfortable doing before, like, talking to new people. Like, before Rivers, I would never have just gone and sat with people that I don't really, like know too well. But now I feel like it's easier for me because, like, what's the harm in going to, in, like, doing something you've never done? Like what's the worst that could happen? And I feel like Rivers has, like, taught us that.
Rivers done for me. Well, Rivers has done so much for me. What hasn't it done for me? I before Rivers, I was such a small, I was a shell of a person. I really did not know who I was and what I wanted to do with my life and stuff. And now I have such a better idea of who I am, what I want, what I like, what I want to learn about. Before Rivers, I was living in a small square box, and that was my life. I really did the same stuff.
Mike!
Yeah, I'll cut it out. It was just pathetic almost. But now I feel my life is so rich and fulfilled, and I'm just morally happy with myself. I feel like Rivers has taught me to learn how to learn. It's taught me to want to learn. It's taught me to see the value in every person. I mean, socially, before Rivers, I was just I was thinking to myself that everyone is just a person is a person, and that's that. They're very similar. But now I see the difference. People are individual. People have different wants, feelings, needs, and that's something that is really overlooked. And I just love how Rivers brought all that together in such a small, tight-knit community, and it just made me feel amazing. And I love Rivers, and I love everybody in it. Like, I am so happy right now. I love Rivers. Thanks, guys.
Rivers rocks.
Very well. Rivers is the best thing in the world. It's the best thing I've ever done with my life. I can't even. Just talking about Rivers, I get me so excited. I'll talk for hours about it. People get really upset with me. Actually, my friends hate it that I did Rivers because I'll just talk to them about it for hours on end. They've already heard it all.